Hello, Mr. America, and all the ships at sea. It's your man, Tim Roberts, 820. The ugliest man in social media. Okay, so I want to talk about this raid on Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. To me, it seems like a political stunt because the powers that be, meaning not Donald Trump, they don't want to see this man run again. They don't want to see this man win again. They do not like this guy. He's not part of their inner circle. And their inner circle is kind of big, but it is confined to the people that they choose, they want, and he's not part of it. He's just not part of it. I mean, you look at former presidents, George Bush, Barack Hussein Obama, Bill Clinton, Jimmy Carter, all of whom have said bad things about each other, and they pal around with each other like they're best friends, but they're not. But they're part of that inner circle, and that's just the way it is, folks. They're part of that inner circle. And what revealed it to me was a picture I saw many years ago. It was a picnic of some sort. I don't know where it was. And at a picnic table was Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush, the first one. George H.W. Bush, Bush 41. Sitting there drinking their Diet Pepsis, and I'm thinking, like, I'm looking at this picture, I'm like, huh, that's weird. Because they, in the campaign, you would think they would hate each other, right? But the vitriol and the anger and the angst and frustration that was, and the hatred that was spewed towards each other. But no, they're part of that inner circle. And Trump has never become part of that. He doesn't want to be part of that. Because he's for the American people. And I know people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear, they say he's selfish. Yeah, but selfishness gets you success. Okay? If you're selfish in a positive way, and I don't mean you're grabbing everything for yourself. I'm talking about you're taking care of yourself. You're taking care of your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit. You're going to be successful. It's just the way it is. And that's what Donald Trump has done. He has been, basically self-preservation, I guess you could probably cast it in a better light that way. And he's had success on his own. He didn't need government to do all that for him. He didn't, a lot of these other people did need government, like the Clintons. They needed government to do it. Some of the Bushes, they needed government to kind of, get their success. But this thing on this raid on Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago goes against the Fourth Amendment of our Constitution, believe it or not. Because the raid, the warrant was set up with such a broad spectrum, of attack. It wasn't a specific thing about a specific crime, a specific ordinance or statute that's been violated. It was just a general thing. Like, yeah, we think something's going on here, so we're just going to go in and investigate and see what we find. I mean, they went into Melania Trump's wardrobe. It's like, I wonder how many hours they spent in that wardrobe. I wonder how many hours they were there sniffing panties and bras and whatnot. They probably were there a long time. In fact, they were in the residence, I think, 12 and a half hours. They got there at 6 a.m. They left at 6:30 p.m. That's 12 and a half hours. Now, I don't know what they found. And here's the thing. They knew what was in that residence. Because in June and July, they were talking with Trump. Trump and his lawyers and the FBI were all talking about what he had. So they knew what he had. Why go in there and do this raid, this facade, to try to make him look bad? I mean, you're showing your cards. You're showing who you are, that you've been politicized. The FBI has been politicized. Now, I don't blame the guys on the ground, the grunts doing the dirty work. I blame the higher-ups, the 5th, 6th, 7th floor. Because they're the ones that are putting this all together. And the White House. You do not do a raid on a political opponent, the most important man in the Republican Party, without the White House knowing. They have to know. There are only two people in the world that could trigger this raid. Joe Biden and the head of the FBI. That's it. Those are the only two people that can do this. Okay? Joe Biden was definitely involved. Yet they're saying, oh no, we weren't really involved. We're not involved. We don't know what's going on. We know what you know. That's not very much. No. Joe Biden had to at least been briefed on this and maybe even participated in the planning. But he was definitely briefed on it. He had to be. That's how our system works, guys. That's how our system works. You cannot do a raid on a political opponent as important as Donald Trump and not have the White House involved in some way, shape, or form. They have to be involved. Because they have to be able to formulate a plan and formulate answers to questions about it. And they decided to go with, oh, we didn't know anything about it, and that just shuts people up. Because the media is now in the pocket of our government. I should say Democrats. And so anything that Democrats do, the media, it's just going to cover it for them. They're going to cover it up. They're going to talk their talking points, and that's it. So the White House definitely knew what was going on, if not triggered it. They possibly could have triggered this. They possibly could have said, let's go do a raid. But I don't think they did that, but they were definitely involved in some way, shape, or form. Somebody in the Democrat Party was involved in this. Somebody high up, maybe even Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. There's definitely higher ups in the Democrat Party that knew this was going to happen, probably helped plan it, probably put the idea in their heads. I can guarantee it. This does not happen in a fucking vacuum. That's not how these things work at all. And what evidence did they find? I mean, they could have planted evidence. They were there 12 and a half hours and no one was allowed in there with them. They could have definitely planted evidence. That's a definite possibility. But they knew what he had already. They already knew what he had. And ask yourself this question. How many former presidents or vice presidents have the same information in their homes, in their offices, locked away somewhere? They all do. Every single one of them. They all have this stuff. Because once you become part of that system, you got to be involved in it all the way. So they all have this information. They all have these documents. And they're just doing this to knock Trump off his pedestal, to knock him off his game, because they don't want him running again. And they're just trying to shame him and criminalize him and get him off balance before the election run. That's what they're doing, folks. I'm telling you right now. That's what they're doing. This is all political. The FBI has become basically the political weaponized arm of the Democrat Party now. I mean, it's on full display right now. It's on absolute full display. So this needs to change. I mean, what Trump should have done his first day in office, he should have sent the truckload of boxes over to the FBI building and said to the 5th, 6th, and 7th floor, you're all fired, clean out your desks, go home. Because those are all political appointments. All political appointments. Okay? And they weren't appointed by him, so they have no allegiance to him. None. No allegiance to him. Now, it's funny, I'll go on a little side note here. Jim Comey, who decided not to prosecute Hillary Clinton, even though she did commit some crimes, does anybody know how Jim Comey got his start in Washington? Anybody at all? Raise your hands. Well, I'll tell you how he got his start. Happened back in the early 90s with in a man's administration called William Jefferson Clinton, the husband of Hillary Clinton. That's how Jim Comey got his start in Washington, D.C., was Bill Clinton appointing him to a high up position in the FBI. So do you really think that Jim Comey is going to, after getting a position from Bill Clinton, do you really think he's going to go out and now prosecute Bill Clinton's wife? I don't think so. It's not going to happen. That's the side note. But this whole thing in Mar-a-Lago is kind of on the illegal side. You wouldn't normally carry out a raid or a warrant like this. It's in violation of the Fourth Amendment, that's for damn sure. And folks, we need to stand up and start telling the FBI, start telling Democrats, start telling these people in places of power, hey, you better knock this off, because we're not going to tolerate this any longer. We should not tolerate this. We should all surround Mar-a-Lago ourselves and say, we dare you to try to come through us. We dare you to try to arrest this man. That's what we should do, but we're not going to do it. You know, we're good American citizens. We're not going to violate the law, but that's what we should be doing, is protecting a man like this. Because guess what? If they could do it to him, they could do it to you and me. Okay, with ease. You know, and they're now going after his lawyers so that he can't defend himself. I mean, it's... If you can't see what's going on here, folks, I feel sorry for you, because you're blind as a bat. You're blind as a bat. You know, this is still this nonsense with the Trump-Russia collusion. I mean, I thought we settled all that. I thought that was settled science. I'm following the science. The science says there was no Trump collusion with Russia. There wasn't any. That's what the science says. That's what the proof says, guys. There was no collusion between Trump and Russia. Period. End of story. But be that as it may, we need to stand up for Donald Trump, because what happens to him can happen to us, guys, and a lot easier. They can come after us a lot easier than they can him. So that's all I got for you today. Take care.